This is Jordan Edwards, and this is the Business Jiu-Jitsu Podcast.
All right. I'm here with Jon Thomas. Jon is the founder of Tap Cancer Out. And if you are in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world, then you have undoubtedly heard of his organization and likely him. I had the pleasure of meeting Jon one time, although this is not how this came together. We met when you, I guess, shepherded Keenan Cornelius out to Hampton's Jiu-Jitsu for a seminar. And I think you were the uke that day, if I'm not mistaken.
I was. Yeah, had the honor.
That was a great seminar. He's a great dude. Definitely interested in how you guys came together. But let me just give the listeners here and the viewers a little plug on who you are. So Jon is the founder of an organization called Tap Cancer Out, which has raised millions of dollars for cancer research. You are a leading voice in our sport for altruism, charity. Certainly one of the biggest, if not the biggest, jiu-jitsu related charities. And your organization and name come up at tournaments, on blogs. And if you are paying attention to the jiu-jitsu world and competition circuit, then it's very likely that you've heard of your organization.
I hope so.
Yeah. And you are from Connecticut. You have a school in Connecticut, or you train out of Connecticut?
I just train. I don't have a school. I'm not a professor. I don't even like to guest instruct that much. Just a student of the game. I train at American Top Team in Danbury, Connecticut. And I've been there. I didn't start there, but I've been there for the better part of the last 8 or 9 years.
Oh, that's great. And you are a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I am, yes, for 2 years. 2-year black belt.
That's
so
great.
A year away from that first degree.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, do me a favor and just give me a little introduction on who you are, your organization, and anything that you think the viewers or the people that are going to read my book might find interesting.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. So Tap Cancer Out was just sort of a German of an idea, I guess in 2010. I never had any aspirations to run a nonprofit. By that time, I had been training jiu-jitsu only for 2 years. I started it in 2008. And I had actually flown out to an event in San Diego called the Classy Awards, which is basically an event that celebrates all of the amazing people in the world of nonprofits. So not only the individuals and the nonprofits themselves, and even some businesses that support nonprofits and things like that. You know, we have awards like these for actors and singers, but we should also have it for the people who are truly changing the world. And so it's hosted by a company called Classy.org. They are a fundraising platform for nonprofits. One of my close friends is one of the co-founders. So I had only gone out there just to support him, to have fun at the event. Open bar, black tie optional event, all that jazz, after party. It was going to be great out in San Diego. You can't beat that. But I didn't expect to be so inspired. And that was the big takeaway. I told myself as I was sitting in that chair, that before I left this event, this show, I was going to come up with an idea. And I racked my brain, and I can't say I had like a 5-year business plan coming out, as I got up from that seat, but I did know I wanted to combine my passion for jiu-jitsu and I guess my hatred for cancer. So I quickly thought up of a name. It was actually Tap Out Cancer first, and then we changed it to Tap Cancer Out to avoid, some legal stuff.
I had to say it a few times to myself before this interview, so to make sure I got it.
Everybody makes the mistake. Don't worry about it. I don't hold it against anybody. But so I pitched it to my friend Pat the next day on the way back to the airport. Actually, he loved the idea. I called my wife, told her, and she loved it. I mean, there wasn't an idea. It was just sort of like, I thought of a nonprofit name. It's going to be Tap Cancer Out, and it's going to have jiu-jitsu as part of it. And everyone's like, oh, great, fantastic. But we didn't really have like a business plan or even an idea of how it was going to work or what we were going to be as an organization. Like, how would we generate, donations? How would we fundraise? Were we going to be an apparel brand? Would we sell shirts and things like that and have catchy phrases? In jiu-jitsu, you can sell a lot of jiu-jitsu specific gear. So would we go down that, range? If we were to partner with tournaments, like what would that look like? If we set up a table, like what is our thing?
Right.
And it took us a very long time to figure that out. Years, in fact, and sort of a lot of stops and starts. We even sort of had to figure out trial by fire exactly who our audience was. Is it like the larger MMA audience, which is filled with people who don't train at all and just love the sport?
Right.
Or would it very specifically be the jiu-jitsu community and those people within it, and like not even, there's sort of a halo effect around MMA at large, but would we corner in on the jiu-jitsu market? So we had to figure out a lot of that, and there were a lot of closed doors that I thought would be open. A lot of people I thought would want to partner with us who didn't. Not just jiu-jitsu organizations in general, but even beneficiaries. Right. People who I said, "Listen, you don't have to do anything. I just want to give you money." And they were like, what's this jiu-jitsu thing? I don't know. I don't know if we want to like be part of this. And so that was pretty difficult at first. It wasn't until my instructor in early 2012, maybe it was late 2011, I was probably whining a little bit about the fact that we hadn't really found success and found our niche, and I couldn't partner with tournament organizations. And he's like, why don't you just host your own tournament? And I'll never forget, he's like, I think you can raise about $5,000. And he wasn't even talking about fundraising. He was just talking about like with registration fees and things like that. He's like, I think you can come out with $5,000. And I was like, whoa, what? That sounds amazing. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And luckily I had in 2007, I believe, I had done team and training with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, which is a wonderful organization. And they, basically, if you sign on the dotted line to fundraise $1,000, both myself and my wife did. In return, they give you quote unquote perks. So they will buy your entry to the race. They'll get your bib. They'll get all that stuff for you. You get a team dinner the night before. They get your hotel room right next to the race in the middle of Hartford. And, all these other little things of like a VIP tent that you could go to before and after the race. And so it was nice. So you sort of got something for your efforts, right? Beyond just running for 2 hours, which wasn't exactly fun. And so, I thought, like, why can't we apply this model to jiu-jitsu? Especially because jiu-jitsu tournaments are so cost prohibitive to most people. Not everybody has 80, 75, 80, 100, $120 to compete. Then if you have to travel, if you need any lodging or anything, it's really difficult. And then to do it every weekend, like that becomes really, really costly. So not a lot of people can even compete that much. And it becomes a sport you compete in, like, I don't know, once or twice a year, 4 to 10 times a year, something like that. So if we can make it a little more accessible for people just by fundraising, that would not only, be a welcomed reward for them, but it would also allow more people to compete in our tournaments, and the more people that are in your tournaments, the better. So we stumbled upon that model. Our first event raised $17,000 in total. Wow. So we were stunned. And then the question became, okay, we definitely...
How many competitors did you have in that first event?
Probably like 150 or so max. Yeah. I couldn't believe we even got that many. Yeah, because we didn't know anything about hosting a tournament. I knew nothing. I'd never done it. It's just I had been to tournaments. That's it. And, grown up playing sports and stuff. So I understand the concept of single elimination brackets and things like that. But, I was pushing my teammates out onto the mat to ref. And, we borrowed wrestling mats at the high school where we hosted the tournament. And we taped them off with painter's tape. It was like pretty low budge. But it was still like a fun event. We didn't really have any issues other than it was like 45 minutes delayed in the morning because I'm literally handwriting all the brackets out on paper and then like erasing as people miss weight and like it's the whole thing. So
Yeah.
Once we got it going, though, it went, and it was amazing. And, the feeling after the event was like just so wonderful, and, something I'd never felt before in my life. Like, we did this together. The jiu-jitsu community did this together. And I can't wait to sort of show the world what the jiu-jitsu community can do, especially because there are so many misconceptions about what this sport is and who the participants of the sport are.
Yep.
And that's a narrative that I wanted to change too. So, and I think we have. So then it was just, every year we just kept adding more and more events until it became, I was working in advertising for all those years, but it wasn't until 2018 where I finally made the leap to do this full time. If we can add events, do like an event a year, this could be my full-time job. And then if we added more events, we can have more employees and we can get bigger and bigger and go across country. And so that's sort of how it snowballed.
So let me stop you there for 1 second, because what you've done so closely represents what I'm trying to get to, and whether you realized it or did it intentionally or not, starting a business or organization is something that so many people dream about, and they have so many great ideas, and the thing that they just don't do is they just don't start it.
Right.
Or they do start it and they don't get the kind of success that they thought they could, and they don't turn it into what you've been able to do, which is this full-time gig for yourself, which is doing such amazing things. And what was the catalyst for you? Do you think that it had anything to do with martial arts training?
Probably not.
You were an athlete too, right?
So yeah. So my whole life, like a lot of people say I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and sort of I've had this love-hate relationship with entrepreneurship. As a kid, I was always thinking of crazy businesses and stuff, so you do the lemonade stands. We did baseball card stores. We outfitted my friend's shed with like all of these video games and turned it into an arcade. Like I was doing everything. Everything failed. Nothing actually made us money ever, but we just loved creating businesses. And especially when you have like a friend or partner who wants to do it with you. And so that was really fun. And, so I had always been doing that, but then,
did you come from entrepreneurs?
Nope. The opposite of that, I suppose, but you sort of get into the system, the school system, the high school system, the college system, and it's not really built for entrepreneurs, and they shake that from you a little bit. And so I definitely fell into the mold of, okay, I go to this high school, then I can get into this college, and I'll go to that college for 4 years, and then I'll get a job doing this, and then hopefully I'll climb the ladder, and that's sort of how it goes. And that's exactly what I did, and climbed the corporate ladder and did all that stuff, but it was never fulfilling. But the idea of like just leaping without a net and trying, to create a business and stuff. I was terrified of ever doing that, to the point where I stopped ever thinking I would have my own business. It wasn't until, so I was in a marketing department for a technology company. Not like I was passionate about marketing. I was not passionate about this company or what it was doing. It was like network security stuff. But we started a blog, and I started writing for them. And I would have to create a lot of presentations, PowerPoint presentations, actually. And so I told myself I should learn about how to actually effectively present and create PowerPoints that people don't hate, that aren't just like bullet points on the screen and stuff. So that's what I did. And I learned a lot about it, to the point where I started writing about it because I was just so passionate about it. So I started my own blog. I created a brand called Presentation Advisors. And then eventually people started responding to the blog and asking if I would design their presentations for them, because I was doing it day in and day out at work. And so I was like, yeah. And so that was my side hustle for quite some time. Eventually I would speak at conferences about effective presenting, and I was designing a lot of presentations for people and making a lot good money sort of on the side.
Yeah.
I wasn't super, super passionate about it. Like, it was an interesting side hustle, but I didn't come from like a graphic design background. I knew I had limitations there. And so I was content with that just sort of being my side thing. And then Tap Cancer Out sort of took that over. And so I backed away from the presentation thing, and then Tap Cancer Out was my side hustle. And I famously told people I would never do Tap Cancer Out full time. I was not going to be, because a lot of these tournament organizers have a pretty rough lifestyle going around and hosting tournaments in another city every single weekend. I had dreams of, having a wife and kids and being home for all of that. So, I told people it would never, I loved hosting, 3, 4, 5 tournaments a year. It was using up all my vacation time, but that's okay. It was very fulfilling, and we were still making impact, donating hundreds of thousands of dollars with me still having a regular full-time job. A lot of people, especially people who find out about Tap Cancer Out now, think of us as this like overnight success that came out of nowhere and assume that it was my full-time job from day one, from the day we hosted our first tournament. Like, Tap Cancer Out was my job, and then I just grew from there. But it was the exact opposite. I came up with the idea in 2010, didn't go full-time till 2018. So a solid 8 years of just slow drip progress until I could leap with a very solid net there, you don't have, my biggest bit of advice for people is to be an entrepreneur or to start your own business. It doesn't mean leaving everything behind and not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from and starting from there. There could be a massive overlap. Sure. So the day that you quit your job, you're already making enough on the side that you're content with, with that being your, salary, and then you can build it up from there. You don't have to get rid of your health insurance and move out of your apartment and, move back in with mom. It doesn't have to. It can work that way if you want to get it started quickly, but it doesn't have to. So, I had a family.
You just described so perfectly encapsulates martial arts also. It's not first and foremost, it's not a straight line to a black belt. Right. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of heartbreak. There's injuries. There's times in your life you can't be there as much as you want. Sometimes COVID happens and your gym closes. Mm-hmm. So that's an important life lesson that so closely mirrors martial arts. I hope people take note of that story of yours, that it's not one way, that you struggled, or you were starting this thing for 8 years before it became your full time, and it wasn't even something that you necessarily aspired to.
Right. And everyone's journey in jiu-jitsu, their journey to black belt or journey to whatever belt they get before they quit, everybody's journey is different. No one's the same. And the same goes for business. Obviously we all look at the most famous entrepreneurs and how they did it. And you think, if you didn't create your idea in a dorm room somewhere, that it's never going to be a success. And also the definition of success. Yeah. I'm not going to be a millionaire from this or a billionaire or anything. But I don't want that. All my definition of success personally was to, be my own boss, quote unquote, and to be able to sort of have this lifestyle where I'm super passionate about what I do and it doesn't feel like work. I actually want to be going to the office, and it's kind of a bummer when I have to leave the office for whatever reason, and so that I can sort of not make my own schedule, but be there for my kids. I can go on field trips with my son and drive him to school every day and those sorts of things.
You said to me earlier in this conversation that you never thought you were going to be running Tap Cancer Out full time.
No.
You may not have ambitions to be a successful millionaire in quotations, but I can clearly see that you have everything it takes to be a massive success in the business world. And from the time that you're a kid, you've been jumping at opportunities. And just because you're at this point in your life and you haven't had that success in maybe, quote unquote, making tons of money in business, it sounds like you're someone who's ready to jump on an amazing opportunity should it come your way. and you have all the tools and successes in other realms. You've been a successful athlete. You earned your black belt in jiu-jitsu, and you created this incredible organization. And believe it or not, the book that I'm trying to write is for people who I see in the jiu-jitsu world, especially, who are so incredibly good at martial arts and getting good at martial arts and are great at these other disciplines in their life. And they haven't even tried to become successful as an entrepreneur. And they have these ideas, and they know that I'm an entrepreneur. So they come to me, like, I've got this idea. And I'm like, amazing, time to do it. And they forgot that it took them 10 years to earn their black belt. Yep. And it might take you 10 years to earn business success. It's not like idea and now you're there. So just, back to you, everything that I hear you saying, it does sound like someone who, if you elect to go down that route at some point, you have all the tools necessary to embody it already. And it must be like refreshing for people who are going to watch this to hear that you have struggled through this time to build an organization that is widely known and respected. And it didn't happen in one day.
No, not even close. I never had visions of doing anything like this. So, I was somebody who always felt like I needed to see 20 years ahead. And I've always been a planner, and like, okay, at this age, I'm going to get engaged, and then I'm going to get married at this age, and then I'm going to have my first kid at this age. And for the most part, I did all of that. Like, okay, high school, college, like this, that, and it was all sort of in this beautiful straight line. Yeah. But I never saw this coming. But everything that preceded this is what helps me be successful at Tap Cancer Out. So everything from like presentation design, forcing me to learn graphic design.
While you're talking, because I find it to be an incredibly beautiful website.
Yeah, we literally just had it redesigned, but even with the website, it was really important that it told our story. I didn't want it to be cliche jiu-jitsu, or especially cliche like MMA, no skulls, no fences, like, nothing like that. I wanted it to show what we do. And you're actually on the page, which is like my pride and joy, which is our impact. A lot of people should be asking this about the nonprofits that they support. Exactly how are they creating impact? And, the very public impact that we create is the money that we give to our beneficiaries. But what is under the surface that not a lot of people think about is the impact within the BJJ community. If you go back to the section that you were just looking at, that was a really important section, because, I don't want us to be, and we have great numbers to be measured on, what we're giving to our beneficiaries, but I don't want people to think that the only way that we create impact is the dollars that we give to these organizations, because of all the lives that are touched by those who take part in our events, whether they're a competitor or a volunteer, somebody who fundraises. And that's something that I actually didn't expect. I didn't expect to hear all of the stories. I didn't even, one of the things I didn't even know was that one of my teammates was a cancer survivor. And so when I first started Tap Cancer Out, I'll never forget the day he pulled up his short. He was wearing shorts, and he pulled it up, and there's a big scar in his leg. And he's like, yeah, I had cancer and I had surgery, and but you don't talk about this stuff. You talk about a lot on the jiu-jitsu mats. Cancer doesn't really come up a lot, whether it's your cancer story or how cancer has affected your lives, and it's affected all of our lives. So our tournaments give them the opportunity to have these conversations, to tell these stories about the people that they love and that they may be lost, a way for them to do something that they're passionate about and go out there and, try to win for them, or just step out on the mat. I mean, we tell everybody, everything that they've done leading up to the tournaments has made them a winner. I really don't care what happens on the mats. I don't care who wins gold, who loses in the first round. It's just irrelevant to me. Because this is just our party. This is our graduation party. This is where we celebrate and do the fun jiu-jitsu stuff. All the hard work were all the days leading up to this event. So don't judge your impact or what you've done, by what happens on the mats. Who cares? It's so fluky in jiu-jitsu. It's whatever, but But so these people are in our community are really able to tell those stories and to cope and to honor and to grieve. And, we had a husband who lost his wife and he won gold in his division, like was laying on the mat, weeping with his family ran out to him and were laying on the mat with him. And like, it's just, it's just really hard in other aspects of life to do this. And even, if you don't run or bike or maybe swim or golf, there's not a lot of ways for you to fundraise for cancer or a nonprofit in general. So I was really happy that I was able to give this avenue to the jiu-jitsu community because it was a sport that I loved and it was a sport that I was, taking part in. And when you're doing something you're really passionate about, you can make all the more impact versus, we made a lot of impact, but I was not passionate about running. I'll never forget the first run with my wife where we ran 1.3 miles. We were only supposed to run one. And I made her do the extra 3/10, and we almost got divorced right then and there. Like she wanted to kill me, but we all trained, and it was a great accomplishment. But we never did it again.
Right.
And that's the big thing about fundraising through avenues that you're not truly passionate about. But with jiu-jitsu, this can be a yearly thing for every city, almost every city. We come back to every single year, so they can make this their yearly thing. And
when you're kicking this off again with tournaments, but I have a quick question first. So when I met you, you were with Keenan. When you started this organization, you said doors were closed to you, but it appears as if you've made some nice relationships off of this. Can you talk about how when you did something with passion and you've built this to help people, how maybe it's opened doors to you? Maybe relationships, meeting people like Keenan or other, celebrities in our sports. Has this brought things to you now? Have the doors opened?
It has. And I've never been one, so I'm not like a salesperson. I don't like to cold call. I don't like to ask anybody to do anything ever. I'll just do it myself, which is one of my downfalls as a leader. Actually, I need to be better at delegating and asking. And but even when it comes to like jiu-jitsu influencers, however you want to define that, I generally don't just reach out and say, play the charity card and say, hey, we're a charity, you should help us. The worst thing to do is to do that and not even have an idea of how they can help and sort of put it on them to figure out an idea. It's a guaranteed no. But if you can, come to them with an idea, you have a better chance of success. But even like the Keenan thing was two things. Number one, it was many small interactions. And it's not like we're best friends or anything. It's still many small interactions moving forward. And then and randomly he reached out to me first. And I'm sure I had sent him messages, big fan or whatever. It wasn't like he had never heard of us, but he had some old gis that he wanted to raffle off. He needed a nonprofit to do that. And so he thought of us and he reached out and said, hey, I have these gis. I'm going to raffle them off and I want to give you the money, or, put them on eBay and highest bidder gets them. And then a few other brands, Hook Sweep and actually another San Diego based community nonprofit matched whatever the gis sold for. So ultimately, I think it was like $1,500 he ended up giving to Tap Cancer Out, which was amazing. Yeah. And then, we went a long time with like not ever talking, and the whole driving Keenan to Long Island thing was crazy because he was training in New York. He didn't have a ride. He needed a ride, and he put it on his Instagram story. And he said, hey, I need a ride to Long Island. I'll pay for gas.
Yeah.
And I'll buy food, and you get a free seminar. And I told my wife, hey, I want to respond to this. I want to say yes. He already sort of knows me, so he'll be a little more comfortable getting in the car with me versus a perfect stranger. Yeah. And I'll have 4 hours at least of driving, and then the whole day to talk more about Tap Cancer Out or whatever. Get to know him. So I had to ask her permission. So she said yes, and I reached out and I was like, I'm sure you have a ride, but if you need one, I'm around. And he's like, oh, I don't have a ride actually. So yeah, I picked him up, and it was funny. He got in the car, and we were driving, and I was messaging him from the Tap Cancer Out account, so he knew that it was John from Tap Cancer Out.
Yeah.
But he's like, did I like fundraise for you guys or something? He couldn't even, and I was like, yes, you put some geese up for sale and you gave us the money. He's like, oh yeah, I remember that, because somebody actually told me that I was in your annual report as one of your top donors.
Yeah.
And I didn't even remember it. And I was like, yeah, well, I considered you the donor, for all of that. And so his name was in one of our annual reports from a few years ago. And so yeah, it was great, to have all of that sort of time with such an jiu-jitsu icon, and to pick his brain about things. And I tried to keep my mouth shut for when he didn't want to be spoken to, but his seminar was awesome, and he had lots of questions about Tap Cancer Out, which was really cool. He really wanted to get to know the nitty gritty of how it all worked, and especially from an entrepreneur perspective, because he was right about to start Legion. He actually showed me some of the mock-ups of the logo, and asked for my advice on which one and stuff. So he was just getting started with the whole school thing, and finally delving into that. And so, we talked about starting a business and things like that. So it was really interesting. But to go back to your question, yes, especially being a nonprofit, people want to help. I try not to just ask for things. I want to make it worth their while, and that they get something in return. So for example, we are paid sponsors of his podcast. A lot of people, I assume, their knee-jerk reaction would be like, hey, I want to be on this podcast. We're a charity. Can you just throw us a mention for free, whatever. Yeah. But no, and I told Josh Hinger, I'm happy to be a paid sponsor. I want to, you guys are giving me, a marketing channel, just like Facebook ads do. And so I want to pay for it. And in return, our ROI was off the charts for that. So I'm happy to do that anytime I can, because I know lots of people are going to hear about us and want to get involved. And
you have a very evolved and seasoned business mind. That is, I hope everybody just took note of that. Not asking for things for free and looking for a return on your investment is so important, even in the nonprofit world. People who want something for nothing are going to get nothing. You get attention. It's like toilet paper. It's gone. But the fact that you're willing to take your organization's precious resource, capital, and invest it in advertising in the right spot, you're going to get an amazing return on that. It's a really important part of business, and I'm glad that you brought it up.
Yeah, so coming from an advertising background, that's obviously been nailed into my consciousness about the importance of a brand and what the typical downfalls are of nonprofits. So when people hear charity and then throw in the event, they immediately think low budget, and especially if it's a sport thing. A charity golf tournament, you're drinking a beer at every hole, and it's hacking into the woods and whatever. And my wife, both myself and my wife played collegiate volleyball. She played real collegiate volleyball. I played club. She's the one who got the scholarship, the D1 scholarship. But if somebody asked her to play a charity volleyball tournament, it's a hard no, because she knows it's not going to be good. Or charity basketball tournament, they're going to be double dribbling all the time. So I didn't want people to hear charity jiu-jitsu tournament and think low budget, think blue belt referees, think all of that. I needed them to think the opposite, or realize the opposite when they get to the event. They're like, oh, these are high level referees. These are the same referees I see at all the IBJJF tournaments that I go to. Wow, these mats are beautiful. Wow, their volunteer crew seems totally trained and know exactly what they're doing. And look at these beautiful scoreboards. I want it. It's got to be a high production value event for them, because I want them to want to come back every year. Sure. And especially that was an easy sort of niche to fill when so many tournaments are not good. I'm a competitor too. I've been to all the tournaments. Okay. I've been to the tournament where I get there at 10 a.m. with my wife, or she was my girlfriend or fiance at the time. And she had to leave at 3, and I still hadn't competed by the time she had to leave at 3. You know, like, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you just sat here for 5 hours and did nothing, and I didn't compete. I don't know what's going on. You know, like I no patience for that whatsoever at my tournament. They're going to know exactly where they're going, where they need to be. We're going to do it in the most efficient way, even if it's not the way that all the other tournaments do it. I'm going to do it in the way that I know is the most efficient. I fly in a woman, Shannon, who is my bracketing queen. I fly her from Canada to every single event because she's the best. And I've seen the way she interacts with people and that Canadian kindness and all that. And like, you need that customer service element because people are high stress and they're hungry and they're nervous. So like, I get all that. And so like, I hire the right people. I don't want free labor. I pay our photographers. Like, free labor got me in a lot of trouble, like not big trouble, but you know, the photographers all the time want to shoot our tournaments for free. Right. And I've ended up with no pictures. Like, they just disappear. And now I don't have any pictures for, like, somebody who wants to volunteer referee from us means they're not going to show up. So like, no, everyone's going to get paid, because if you know that you're going to get paid, you're going to show up. And I also you will not get paid until I get my service in return, get my photos in return, all that stuff. So I didn't want to make those typical sort of charity mistakes of just trying to do a super low budge thing and cut corners and try to keep overhead as low as possible to sort of maximize the ROI, because that's a great way to have a tournament that only raises $20,000 every year. Whereas I want a tournament that's going to go from 20 to 50 to 100 to 300 to 500,000. And that's what we've had, because, you know, the people who went to the tournament return, but they also tell their teammates that, hey, this is a tournament that's like not like the rest. It's a tournament that's, you know, everything's on time and high quality. And so you should go, and it's a great time and it's for a great cause. You know, I wanted to have that 1-2 combo. So it's like, oh, this is a really, really good tournament, you know, as good as the best tournaments I've been to, and it's for a great cause. So if we're only there once a year in your town, how can you not do this tournament? Like, you have to do this tournament.
What's the future for your organization right now in the wake of all of this? Are you getting ready to plan more events? Are there ways for people to help? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were supposed to have our Connecticut event, which is our biggest event of the year. That was supposed to be on March 28th. We officially postponed it like March 15th or something. Excuse me. And then it was postponed to August 15th, and then we eventually canceled it, obviously. So we're having no tournaments this year at all. And even 2021 is a little up in the air. Yeah. You know, we're seeing tournaments come back. You know, there are other organizations that are hosting tournaments right now. You know, the IBJJF is having PANs in Florida, of course. But we are not them. We are a different brand. We are not only a nonprofit, but we are a health-based nonprofit. So we can't be seen by a single soul as having, like, taking advantage of any loopholes. Like, oh, well, we can still do our Austin tournament and our Jacksonville tournament and our Orlando tournament because those states are super lax and all this stuff. Like, no, we can't be putting anyone at risk ever. And God forbid, you know, one of our tournaments was a super spreader event that's in the newspaper. We're done for. Like, it's over. My livelihood is over. You know, my wife works for Tap Cancer Out as well. Our whole life is over. We can't do that. So in the beginning, we were very nervous. We're a live event based company, and we can't have live events for the entire year, or as so it seemed. So we were super nervous at first. One of the things we did was start to focus on the things that were outside of the sort of event portion of our business, which is, you know, it is by far our biggest revenue stream. You know, it equates for over 70% of our revenue. is the fundraising. And then if you add registration to that, it's close to 90%. The other revenue streams are merchandise, and then grants. So we had the first thing we wanted to do was look at our monthly recurring giving program, or the fact that we didn't have one, which, most nonprofits, all nonprofits should have one. Most nonprofits have one, but I didn't focus on it because, it would take a long time to sort of build that up. Whereas like I can just add one more tournament to our schedule and I'll raise more than our, monthly recurring program will in a year. But now that I don't have events, I have to now to build this up and turn it into an actual product and give them value in return for donating to us, every month. And sort of what does it mean to support Tap Cancer on a monthly basis? So we did a very quick turnaround on what this program would be. We called it the Podium. And I reached out, and especially like it seemed in April, that would be the worst time to reach out to people and ask them for to take part in this program, because some people didn't know if they would have a job within a few months. Like what would happen to my company? Can I actually work from home? And if I don't want to go into my office, does that mean I lose my job? There's a lot of uncertainty, and so we were hoping for 50 members within the first month, and we had that within the first 2 weeks. So it created a predictable monthly revenue stream for us. So that was fantastic. Our brand ambassadors is something we've been trying to a nut we've been trying to crack for quite some time. I never really could figure out what that meant. Tasked my wife with figuring out all of that, and she did. And so we basically created an application, launched it, figured out sort of what they get in return. They'll get sort of a welcome kit with free gear. They get 15% off our store, plus a friends and family code. Plus we give them early access to everything. It's also a place for us where we can just pick their brains. Do you like this backpack or this backpack? Like, which design do you like better? And it's almost up to 100 members now. We had 60 something, and we're letting in another 20 or so. So we're closing in at 100. And that's amazing for like seating purposes. And so the third thing that we did, it's sort of in response to COVID, I wanted to figure out an event that everybody in the world could take part in, but was also, was a jujitsu event, quote unquote, and didn't require everyone to get together, or even everybody in a school to get together. And so we created Global Grappling Day. So 1 day, 1 partner, 1 hour. On December 12th, you have your partner. Hopefully you've both been fundraising up to that date.
Is there any information I could pull up while you're talking about this?
Yeah, if you just go to globalgrapplingday.com.
Global.
Yeah, globalgrapplingday.com. And then, you grab your partner and you roll for 1 hour straight. Do you flow roll for the first 20 minutes or so? Sure. Like whatever, you don't have to kill each other for an hour straight and be puking your guts out at the end. But it's sort of that, we're used to 10-minute round, 5-10 minute rounds. The idea of rolling for an hour straight is a challenge. And there should be sort of a challenge, like a payoff at the end of this, just like a tournament is a challenge. So you're fundraising towards this day where you're going to do something that's kind of difficult. Just like, a 5K, anybody can run a 5K, but maybe you can't just get off your couch and run a 5K. You got to like train a little bit to get ready for it. It's not a marathon or even a half marathon. So like the 1 hour round, everybody can do it. Do it at your own pace. Don't kill yourself. But like, if you have this goal of just rolling for an hour straight, it's pretty neat. And then when you're done, you can say, not only did I roll for an hour straight, but I fundraised X amount of dollars. It's all the same perks that they get at our tournaments. Actually, it's more than that. But anyone can do it anywhere. And you don't even, if your school is closed or you just don't feel comfortable going there, we actually just shared on our Instagram a bunch of photos of people's sort of home setups, their backyard setups, somebody who converted their entire bedroom into just this matted area, like, all the different places that they're going to be rolling that aren't their school. So, it's still safe. You're not rolling with a ton of people. You're not surrounded by a ton of people. It's just one partner. You can do it anytime. We're hoping that people live stream this on Instagram or Facebook or something, this hour-long roll. And
I'm going to commit to you right now that I will be in. I'm going to raise
beautiful.
I'm going to raise $2,500 for you. And
that's what I like to hear.
Yeah. So Jordan Edwards and Business Jiu-Jitsu commits to raising $2,500 for the organization. And
thank you. That means a lot.
I cannot wait to do it. My company this morning on the call, we were talking about hosting a health and wellness day, which back in February, we raised money for cancer. And my company, as a whole, we raised $5,000 for breast cancer.
That's awesome.
And we hosted a 5K. It was a lot of fun. I'm pumped to do this because I think it's a great idea. I didn't know where you were going with all your new concepts, but it's so clear that you are, a really seasoned entrepreneur. You don't let things stop you from pivoting and sticking and moving. And this is an awesome concept I haven't seen before.
It's amazing what you can accomplish when you have to do it. So we've had this concept of grapplethons for quite some time, which are basically volunteer hosted events that support Tap Cancer Out. People can set up fundraising pages. And it's like a glorified open mat in support of Tap Cancer Out. And that was sort of our product, so to speak, where people anywhere in the world could do it, because our tournaments are obviously so location specific. If you don't live within 3 hours, you're probably not coming to this tournament. But, we've had people in Canada, in the UK, host grapplethons on our behalf. But that still involves getting a lot of people together. It's not a lot, but it's work by the volunteer hosts and stuff. And we do a lot to help alleviate some of that. And we set up the fundraising event and stuff, but that couldn't be the solution. So forever, I've tried to think of what is the event where everyone in the world can take part, but you don't need to be with a lot of people and you don't even need a jiu-jitsu school. And this came to me literally while I was riding on my Peloton. I was just racking my brain and I'm like, oh my God, I think I got it. Because the one thing I had to crack was, what is the thing that they do? You can't jiu-jitsu by yourself. So what with a 5K or a half marathon, people can just go run that around their neighborhood as opposed to, going into Boston and running a marathon. You just find 26 miles around your house and do that. But you can't just jiu-jitsu by yourself. So what is that? And what is the amount of time that's not insurmountable, but is still cool to say you did, 20-minute round, 30-minute round. Ooh, an hour round. That's long. But it's probably how long you roll during a typical open mat anyways. You're just doing it with a lot of different people and you're taking probably more breaks.
Sure.
But it's so it has some cachet to it. And but I had to think of something and I wanted it to sort of involve everyone. And also this is something, so this is the blessing in disguise from COVID. Global Grappling Day is something we'll have every single year. This might be its most successful year because nobody can go to tournaments. So this is the one thing that everyone can do. But when we go back to having tournaments and we'll have our showcases as well, we'll still have Global Grappling Day. Yeah. And so it's just another thing that we probably wouldn't have if this had all not happened and forced us to sort of search for areas to, create impact and fundraise outside of our tournaments. We're also still hosting our showcases, but we had to adapt those as well. So those are our sort of Kasai or Fight to Win sort of style super fight shows, which we would have, with selling tickets and VIP tables and on stage and stuff. We had to figure out what that looks like now. So we're hosting them, no spectators, hosted at private jiu-jitsu schools, maximum 25 people in the room at any time. So we're just constantly rotating everybody, the fighters in and out. We have an outdoor warm-up area. And so we had to figure out what all those things would be. We stream it for free on Facebook. But what were the things we were going to invest in and what weren't we? And but we had our Connecticut one. That showcase alone raised $50,000. We'll have 4 more in Charlotte, Philly, Massachusetts, and Baltimore, starting on October 24th, and they're every other weekend. So that's sort of, we can do that safely. Everyone is masked except the two people who are rolling. So it's as relatively safe as a jiu-jitsu event could be. Checking temperatures, doing all that stuff. Our staff gets COVID tested ahead of the event. So we can still do that safely. So that's what we'll do. But, we won't be back to tournaments until I'm convinced that there's a safe way to do so. So we would need something to be different than it is right now, whether that's, a vaccine that's readily available, or something. But, until then, we'll continue to try to think of ideas like that. And maybe there's another idea in someone's head here that we're figuring out. But
very inspiring to see how you stuck and moved, and you didn't let it stop you. It didn't turn you. One of the businesses that I run, I'm the CEO of, is a company called Mixology Clothing Company. It's a women's apparel business. We have 12 stores that I was forced to shut all those stores down. And we pivoted to be completely online while we were forced to be closed. And I was incredibly proud of my team that we were able to do that. It was part the investing that we've done in the technology. The other part was the willingness of the team to completely change the way that we did things. And I don't know if you've been watching the news on the fashion industry, but it's one after the next: bankruptcies and closures. Brooks Brothers, Century 21, Saks Fifth Avenue, like legendary brands, they weren't able to do what you're describing that you did. It's so important to have that entrepreneurial muscle to just say, here's an obstacle and I'm going to go over it. And that is what jiu-jitsu represents to me, ultimate problem solving. 5 deep human chess. You're constantly refining technique and strategy and just showing up. Enough. So I really commend you on this organization.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that we had a chance to talk. And that and then I'm going to be able to, continue to be involved in this organization and raise money for you guys. I'm honored to just be able to do that. And
I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
Contacting me to be a part of this project. You have a lot to add to it. And, some of your story and your response to COVID is exactly the essence of what I was trying to get at today in this conversation. So thanks for sharing so candidly, and also for starting this organization, which is so important. I don't know of many, a few smaller ones I've seen pop up here and there, but I don't know of many jiu-jitsu centered or martial arts centered charitable organizations. So yours is by far and away the most prominent. I have another friend, actually the guy that owns Hampton's Jiu-Jitsu, he started a not-for-profit summer camp for kids in the community, and there's some jiu-jitsu there. I was able to support that organization too, but really commend you on everything that you're doing. Just one more time, it's, Tap Cancer Out. I'm going to just pull this up. If there's anywhere that you want me to hover on the screen so that we can share it. I know you don't like to promote and ask, but personally, I don't have any problems asking, especially when it comes to a good cause. I see you have a donate button up here in the right-hand corner. Yep. And
if you click on the events, that's basically how you access everything. So Global Grappling Day is there. That'll send you right to the campaign. If you click on sub-only showcases, that sends you to that landing page as well. So you can get all the applications for upcoming events. If you want to compete, those are open to blue belts and up. We don't have any upcoming tournaments, so probably not worth clicking on that. But
I'm going to navigate back to Global Grappling Day for a moment.
There you go. Yeah, that's the easiest one, and it literally takes 2 seconds to register. You click on Become a Fundraiser, you put in your email. It basically asks you to set up your classy.org fundraising profile, and then your page will be automatically set up. There's even a place in there where you can link to a Facebook fundraiser. So with one click, it'll automatically create a Facebook fundraiser for you as well. You just need to log into your Facebook.
And that's again, Classy, the organization that kind of inspired.
Yeah. So all of our tournament websites, like they're all built on top of a fundraising platform. So, which is great because as soon as you register, your page is set up for you right there. You don't have to register in one place and then go somewhere else and set up a fundraising page. It's set up for you. You can customize it, put your photo, put your story, put images, put videos. it'll have like a stream of who's donated to your page. You can comment and thank them there. So that's all the swag. If you keep scrolling, we have a custom Global Grappling Day patch, which is really cool. I loved how that came out. Yeah. We have like our fundraiser t-shirt is a super, super soft long sleeve hoodie tee, which people love. And then, more and more perks as you go on, all the way up to $10,000. If you raise over $10,000, you're coming with us to Jiu-Jitsu in Paradise, whenever that is, a BJJ camp in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Which we're super excited for that. So, and we'll recognize the top fundraiser and for this event, as we do with every other event. So
where does the top fundraising usually come in at?
Well, for this event, I have no idea. For a typical tournament, it can be, it's usually around like the six to 8K mark. But our top fundraiser of all time, Cody Alessi, 11 years old, I think. He raised $20,000 last year.
Wow.
So sometimes some of these people are hard to beat. So we actually have a fundraiser Hall of Fame on our website. So if you go there, you can see all the names of anyone who's ever raised over $5,000. So you can sort of get your name cemented on there once you reach that point. But
this is flowing right now.
Yeah. So, if you can't get involved in one of our showcases, you can get involved in Global Grappling Day, and hopefully we'll be back to hosting our tournaments when it's safe to do so. But you can always go to our store. So we have this t-shirt among many others, gis, rash guards, hoodies, patches, stickers, all sorts of stuff, that you can buy. And again, it's all super high quality. I don't stand for anything less. So Inverted Gear makes our gis. Manto makes our rash guards and actually one of our backpacks. But you can also earn those too if you fundraise.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate everything you do.